They say some love stories begin with butterflies. Mine started with a bang, literally. I met Chase under stadium lights and fireworks, the night our school won the state championship. He wasn't just the quarterback, he was the golden boy, the kind of guy who walked down hallways like he owned them, confident, polished, but dangerous in the way a flame flickers too close to paper. I was the girl everyone whispered about, loud, emotional, the one who always had something to prove, but never the words to explain it. And Chase, he was the calm to my storm, or so I thought. That night, he said I looked like the 4th of July in my red dress. I said he looked like trouble. We were both right, from day one. Our chemistry wasn't sweet, it was electric. Like something you'd bottle up and sell with a warning label. He'd touch my hair, then roll his eyes when I talked too much. I'd kiss him hard, then cry when he didn't call. We were messy, beautiful and awful in equal measure. Everyone saw it. My friends told me to run. His friends told him to train me, but the truth is we fed off each other. He liked that I screamed instead of sulked. I liked that he never flinched when I did. I mistook that for love. The first time we broke up was over something stupid. I changed my profile picture. That was it. He thought I was advertising. I laughed. He didn't. He told me I wanted attention. I told him he was insecure. He didn't speak to me for 3 days. When he came back, it was with roses and an apology speech that sounded like poetry. I fell for it again. That was the pattern. Explosions followed by silence, then silence followed by a dramatic return. We weren't building anything, we were just tearing it down slower each time. But I loved the high, the adrenaline, the idea that if he fought this hard to stay, he must really love me. I started calling our love story a movie. But looking back, it was more like a thriller with no happy ending in sight. I was too busy starring in it to realize I was also the one getting hurt. People say love is patient and kind, ours was neither. But it was addictive, and at 16, I didn't want real love, I wanted chaos that looked like passion. And Chase gave me front row tickets to the roller coaster ride I didn't know I'd never be allowed to get off. Chase had a gift, not for kindness, or patience, or honesty, no, his gift was control. He could twist a moment like a magician pulling scarves from a hat. 1 second we were laughing at some dumb meme he sent me, and the next, I was apologizing for making him mad, even though I couldn't remember what I did. We weren't even official half the time, but I had to act like we were. No flirting, no parties without him, no texting certain people. He never called it a rulebook, but it was. And the rules only worked when he made them. I wasn't allowed to like anyone's posts, but he could comment on some random girl's selfie. It's different, he said. You know how guys are. It's not that deep, but it was always deep when I did something. Suddenly I was disrespectful, disloyal, a liability. His words, not mine. One night, I wore a dress that he didn't like, too short, he said. Too many eyes on me. He didn't yell. He just stared at me the entire night with that cold, unreadable expression. When I asked what was wrong, he shrugged and walked away like I was a stranger. I spent the whole night refreshing my phone, waiting for a text. It came at 2 a.m., just 3 words. Hope it was worth it, and I cried, over a boy. Over a stupid text, but in my world, those 3 words felt like a sentence, a punishment. I thought if I could just explain myself better, dress different, talk softer, he'd stop pushing me away. But that's the trick with guys like Chase. You think the problem is you. You start to believe that if you were just better, they'd stop hurting you, that their anger is your responsibility to fix. Still, he had this way of drawing me back in. Every apology was dressed in charm, every fight was followed by the perfect moment. Like the time he took me to the beach at sunrise after we didn't speak for a week, he didn't even apologize. He just held my hand and said, "This is how we fix things," and I believed him, because I wanted it to be love. I wanted to win him over, like taming a wild animal. Like if I stayed long enough, I'd be the one girl who made him better, but the truth was, he didn't want to get better, he just wanted me quiet. loyal and waiting, and I was for a long time. There's a point in every bad relationship where things stop feeling like love and start feeling like surveillance. It crept in slowly, like fog rolling under a door. One minute I was posting selfies, and the next I was calculating who might see them, especially Chase. He'd start conversations with, "So, who were you texting today?" Never playful, always probing. He'd scroll through my comments, even check who viewed my stories. If a guy from math class liked something, it was an issue. If I followed back, it was disrespect. I used to laugh off the idea of being checked up on, thought that only happened in movies, but Chase didn't yell, he didn't threaten, he just watched. Made you feel like you were being graded all the time, and when you failed, even just once, he'd withdraw, like love was a privilege I had to keep earning. One day, he showed up at my house uninvited, said he just wanted to talk, but his eyes scanned the room like he expected someone to be hiding behind the curtains. I joked about it, tried to make it light. He didn't laugh. Instead, he asked me if I'd ever cheated. I was so shocked I laughed again. That made him angrier. He said, "You think I'm stupid?" And in that moment, I realized he didn't trust me at all, and I don't mean the kind of mistrust that comes from one bad mistake. I mean the kind that's baked into their brain, the kind where they assume you're guilty before you even say hello. The worst part, I started to internalize it. I'd second-guess everything. Should I post that? Should I text back? Should I even smile at someone in class? I was shrinking myself to fit into a version of me that wouldn't make him mad. I was dimming my own light to keep him from burning out. My friends noticed. They said I wasn't myself, that I was quieter, more careful. I called it maturity, but deep down, I knew what it was. I wasn't growing, I was surviving, and yet, I stayed. Because somewhere in my mind, I believed if I could just prove I was good enough, he'd stop testing me, that he'd finally relax and love me freely. But people like Chase don't love freely, they love like it's a game, and in his game, I was always playing defense even when I had nothing to hide. We broke up at least 5 times, maybe more. I lost count. Somewhere between the dramatic exits and the tearful returns, each one felt like the last until it wasn't. The first real breakup came after a party. Someone said Chase was flirting with a girl in the kitchen. I didn't even see it, I just heard about it. But I was already used to being blamed for things I didn't do, so I decided to flip the script. I confronted him calmly, said I heard something, and I wanted the truth. He laughed, not because it was funny, but because it made him mad. "So now you don't trust me," he said. The irony nearly knocked the wind out of me. I didn't yell. I just walked away. That was the first time I left without crying, and it shook him. For a full week, I didn't answer his calls. I felt powerful for once, like I had control again. I started wearing what I wanted. I laughed louder. I even flirted a little, just to remind myself I could. But Chase, he couldn't handle being ignored. He sent flowers, showed up at my job, called my mom just to check in. Then one night, he showed up with that same sad smile and said, "I miss us," and for a moment, I did too. He didn't say sorry, he didn't admit to anything, but he cried, and I mistook his tears for change, so I took him back. That was the cycle, the promise of change wrapped in emotion. It wasn't love, it was performance, but I was the perfect audience, always clapping when he said the right things. The breakups started to lose meaning. They were more like intermissions, temporary pauses before the same act repeated itself, and every time I came back, I gave away a little more of myself, my boundaries, my peace, my self-respect. I knew the pattern, so did he. But when someone knows you want them more than you love yourself, they use it. And Chase, he was a master at making me feel like leaving was a betrayal, not survival, and I kept choosing him, even when it was killing me slowly. The shift didn't happen during a fight. It happened during silence. We were sitting in his car after school. I was scrolling. He was staring out the window. No music, no talking, just this thick air between us that felt like wet cement. That's when I realized we had nothing left to say, not really. I asked him if he was okay. He nodded. I asked if we were okay. He shrugged, and then I said, "Do you still love me?" And he paused, not because he didn't have an answer but because he knew the one I wanted wasn't the one he had. "I don't know," he said. That moment gutted me in a quiet, deep way. Not like the dramatic fights we had, not like the yelling or tears. This was something colder, like I was a puzzle he'd already solved. And now he was bored. I didn't cry, I just nodded. He dropped me off. I walked inside. My mom asked how my day was. I said fine. Then I locked myself in my room and stared at the ceiling for 2 hours, wondering how love could feel so empty. That night, I didn't text him. The next day, he didn't call. It was like we silently agreed to disappear from each other's lives without ever saying goodbye, and in a way, that hurt worse than any breakup because it wasn't a moment, it was a slow fade. Days passed, then weeks. I started noticing how light my chest felt. How quiet my mind was. I wasn't constantly checking my phone. I wasn't explaining myself 24/7. I was just breathing. The turning point wasn't a dramatic scene. It was a quiet awakening. I didn't need to be loved like a battle. I didn't need chaos to feel alive. I started to rebuild, piece by piece. I went out with friends again, laughed without guilt, wore whatever I wanted without checking his reaction in my mind, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like a character in someone else's script. I felt like me. It took about 2 months before Chase came back. He didn't show up with flowers this time, no grand gestures, just a message. "I've been thinking about you." I stared at the screen for a long time, not because I didn't know what to say but because I knew exactly how this story played out. I could feel it in my bones. I didn't answer. So he doubled down. He said he missed my laugh, that nothing felt right without me. He said I got him in a way no one else did. A year ago, those words would have melted me. Now, they just felt familiar, scripted, like a speech he had on standby for moments like this. He asked to see me, just to talk. I said no, then came the guilt trip. So that's it, after everything. Yes, that was it. What he didn't understand was that I had finally learned the difference between missing someone and needing them. I did miss him sometimes. Certain songs still reminded me of late-night drives and stolen glances, but I didn't need him anymore, and that scared him more than anything. Toxic love is like smoke. It clouds your judgment, makes you think the fire is warmth instead of danger, but once the air clears, you see the ashes. You see what's left of you. Chase didn't change, he just got lonely, and I refused to be his comfort food anymore. I didn't block him. I didn't curse him out. I just let it go, quietly, finally. And in that silence, I found something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. There's this myth that healing is loud, that it looks like gym selfies and revenge outfits and new dates. But for me, it looked like grocery shopping without panic, listening to music without overthinking lyrics. Waking up and not feeling like I had to brace myself for the day. I started journaling, not about him but about me. What I liked, what I wanted. I didn't even know my own voice until I stopped hearing his in my head. I reconnected with people I'd pushed away, friends who told me I seemed lighter now. One even said, "It's like you came back from the dead," and in a way, I had. I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't need to win. I just needed to be whole, and for the first time, I was. If you're listening to this, hoping for a fairy tale ending, you won't find it here. There was no final kiss, no epic realization, just a girl who stopped waiting to be saved and started saving herself. I don't hate Chase. I understand him, and that's scarier. Because I see now that he was never trying to love me, he was trying to own me. And I confused control with affection because I didn't know better, but now I do. So if you're in something that feels like love but hurts like war, walk away. Not because it's easy, but because you deserve a love that doesn't make you question your worth. I did, and I'll never go back.